Welcome to Real Stories in Real Estate. I'm your host, Denise Laframboise, and today we're going to talk about reverse mortgages. So, your home has been taking care of you. Now, let it take care of you. I want to start today with a picture. Someone who has lived in the same home for 30 years, raised their kids there, paid off their mortgage, and done everything right. And now they're retired and they're living on a fixed income and watching costs go up and quietly stressing about money in a way they never expected to. They own a home worth a lot of money, but they can't access it without selling. And selling means leaving the home they love. That's house rich and cash poor. And we actually see it constantly. Today, we're talking about a solution that gets a bad reputation it doesn't always deserve: the reverse mortgage. So let's talk about the cringe first. I know every kind of person cringes when they hear the words reverse mortgage. There's a stigma. There are myths. There are adult children who panic that their parent brings it up. So let's be clear. And before we go any further, let's talk about the most common myths we see. So myth one, a reverse mortgage means you will lose your home. You do not lose your home. You remain on the title. You continue to live there. The bank does not own your house. It works like every other mortgage product that we set up. It is a charge on the property, the same as the mortgage that you paid off a long time ago. Myth two, your kids lose their inheritance. Not necessarily true. If there's equity remaining in your home, when it's sold, the mortgage gets paid out and then the equity goes to your estate. The same as any other mortgage product that we set up. The question here is actually whether leaving equity in the home is the right move when someone is living on cat food to avoid touching it. And that's a conversation worth having. And I know that seems aggressive, but it's real. And we see it often. People who cannot afford their expenses, their utilities, their food, but they have equity sitting in their home that they're not touching that could help them. So what exactly is a reverse mortgage? Well, it's a product that lets a homeowner over 55 access a portion of their equity without selling and without making monthly payments. The interest accumulates and is paid back when the home is sold, or when you move out, or when the estate settles. In Canada, there's only a couple options because this is a highly regulated field. Each one of these options has different interest rates and different structures. We work with all four of them and different amounts that you can access. So they have different pros and cons, and it's worth looking at all of the options. We tend to lean towards the ones that have been established for a long time because either their interest rate structures are better, or because sometimes they can access more funds than like a higher percentage of what somebody needs. But the right product depends entirely on the person's solution or situation. It's not a one size fits all. So there are a couple different ways to use this. So two different ways a reverse mortgage can work. So option one, lump sum. You can access a portion of your equity all at once. So no monthly payments. So usually we're doing this when, say, they have an existing mortgage or a line of credit or some debts that we're paying out, that we're just putting a reverse mortgage on instead. And then they are no longer on the hook for monthly payments, so that helps improve cash flow. Option two are for the people that are living, pension check to pension check, and they have a fully paid off home. This can be, they call it like an equity plan. Like basically, you'll get regular payments to yourself. So the home essentially becomes your ATM that sends you a check biweekly or monthly that supplements your income. Both options have real and legitimate use cases. And we've seen this work really well for someone whose investments are down too. And it makes no sense for them to pull things out of their portfolio right now, whether it's a tax event or just waiting for the market to recover. Accessing equity from the home temporarily with no monthly costs can be the smarter move there. We've also seen it work for someone who just needs breathing room, or who worked their whole life to pay off their home and deserves actual enjoyment in retirement. And we also talk about this a lot with people's adult children. right? If you're listening to this because your parent is considering a reverse mortgage and you're nervous about it, I hear you. Here's what I'd ask you to consider. Is your parent living comfortably? Or are they quietly stressed, cutting back on things they shouldn't have to cut back on in a home worth significant amount of money? A reverse mortgage is not a failure, it's a financial tool. And for the right person in the right situation, it can genuinely change the quality of their life. The conversation worth having is not should they do this, but let's understand all of the options so we can make the right decision together. We do these conversations with families all the time, with parents and adult children on the same call, asking every question until everyone understands what is clear. So, what is a reverse mortgage? Like we've talked about what it is. What isn't it? So, it is not the right solution for everyone. And we will tell you honestly if it's not. It is not cheap money. The interest rates are higher than a traditional mortgage, which is why we look at the full picture. Because there are often times where people come to us for a reverse mortgage and we set them up with a line of credit or maybe a regular mortgage instead because it makes more sense for them. And it's not a decision to make without getting proper advice from someone who actually understands the product. Not every broker works with reverse mortgages. So if this is something you're pursuing, like make sure yours does, or feel free to call us. We're always happy to help. What I want you to take away today is your home has been the biggest asset for decades, and there's nothing wrong with letting it support you now. If you or someone you love is house rich and cash poor, let's start that conversation. Our advice is free, and the clarity costs you nothing. We built our homes, we pay them off, and we protect them. And sometimes the smartest thing we can do is let them work for us. If you want to understand what a reverse mortgage could look like in your situation, reach out. We're happy to walk you through, or you and your family, through each part of this and how it might look for you if that is helpful. Until next time.